Um, so first, it's an honor to be here with you at this prestigious event. I would like to extend a greeting to all the academics, researchers, and guests who have joined us today, and a special acknowledgement to the esteemed Eudoxia University and its dedicated team. Today, I will be speaking about a topic. I was very careful to select an interesting topic for you because we are discussing a lot about AI in scientific writing. So I will talk today about the implications for critical thinking in using AI for scientific writing. Um, as uh, intelligence, as artificial intelligence tools increasingly become part of our academic workflow, we are witnessing a transformation in the way scientific texts are produced. While these technologies offer valuable support such as grammar correction, idea organization, and content suggestions, they also raise important questions about how critical thinking is being shaped or, in some cases, neglected. It was a surprise for me when I was making the research about this topic. I had this idea, and I found very old papers about critical thinking. I didn't find, using all AI tools and web searches, new papers contemplating AI and critical thinking. So I decided to investigate more this topic. What does it mean to think critically in an age where machines assist with writing? Scientific writing is not merely a formal task. It's an intellectually demanding process that reflects a writer's capacity to analyze, synthesize, argue, and interpret. Behind every paper lies a journey, a process of thought, refinement that demands discipline, creativity, and precision. At the core of this journey is critical thinking, the intellectual engine that drives meaningful academic inquiry. It's through critical thinking that researchers examine assumptions, evaluate evidence, challenge dominant narratives, and contribute new knowledge to the world. But this centrality of human thought is being reconfigured. With the rapid expansion of science and technology tools, particularly artificial intelligence, we are witnessing a profound shift in how knowledge is constructed. From grammar suggestions to content generation, AI tools are becoming increasingly integrated into the workflow of academic authors. This evolution raises essential questions. Are we still engaging deeply with our ideas? Are we nurturing our unique intellectual voice? Or are we becoming overly reliant on our algorithmic prompts? Does AI enhance our thinking or replace it? As we reflect on these transformations, we are invited to re examine what we value most in academic work: originality, intellectual effort, and authorial responsibility. Does artificial intelligence support or disrupt the critical autonomy of academic authors? Today, I will present a theoretical and reflective essay based on a comprehensive analysis of the literature on critical thinking, artificial intelligence, and academic writing, drawing on both classical references and contemporary empirical studies. It seeks to evaluate the potential effects of AI on the critical quality of scientific writing, considering both its benefits and the risks to argumentative integrity and the development of autonomous reasoning. What is the true role of artificial intelligence in scientific writing? Over the past few years, AI has moved from a peripheral to a central player in the writing process. Applications like ChatGPT, Grammarly, Writeful, and similar digital assistants are now commonly used not only for grammar correction, but also for rephrasing, text organization, argument structuring, and even partial content generation. These tools have revolutionized the creation of academic texts. On a practical level, they offer a wide range of benefits. They help correct errors, improve vocabulary, polish sentence structure, and ensure clarity of expression. This is particularly helpful for students writing in a second language or for researchers working under tight deadlines. The impact is undeniable. Time is saved. Grammar and syntax improve. Writers receive immediate, actionable feedback. Stress is reduced, especially during the revision phase. Literature in the field of writing, instruction, and educational technology supports the idea that AI-enhanced environments can increase student engagement, boost performance, and accelerate skill development. However, there are serious problems with using these tools as well. Academic integrity is threatened by unchecked AI use. These risks include automated plagiarism, text rewriting to get around similarity checks, and the dissemination of misleading information. Furthermore, an over-reliance on automated recommendations may result in texts that lack authorial voice and are overly generic and unoriginal. This poses a threat to the authentic manifestation of critical thinking, which requires situated reflection, self-judgment, and epistemological engagement. Social problems also emerge in addition to ethical and cognitive difficulties. Unequal access to AI tools between countries or institutions with different technological resources can deepen disparities in scientific production, creating a type of asymmetry in the global academic ecosystem. But what is critical thinking? Critical thinking is the capacity to carefully, logically, and rationally analyze, synthesize, and access information. This ability is shown in scientific writing by formulating coherent hypotheses, carefully examining data, and crafting compelling arguments. There is more to critical thinking than just a method. It's an attitude of inquiry motivated by curiosity, intellectual integrity, and the willingness to adjust one's mind in the face of new information. Some key skills and dispositions make up an ideal critical thinker. These qualities include conceptual clarity, objectivity, receptivity to discussion, diligence in gathering pertinent data, metacognitive awareness, and perseverance in research. Critical thinking integrates attitudes and abilities focused on making well-informed decisions. In the context of scientific writing, this entails analyzing presumptions, assessing the veracity of assertions, coming to logical conclusions, taking into account alternate possibilities, and clearly, honestly, and politely expressing ideas. Even when facing opposing viewpoints, a good scientific text should combine analytical depth, argumentative transparency, and respect for the reader. Critical thinking is a systematic practice that involves elements of reasoning, universal intellectual standards, and intellectual virtues, such as integrity and empathy. In a complex and constantly changing world, we need to train autonomous and ethical critical thinkers who are capable of making informed and socially responsible decisions. Some authors proposed concrete strategies such as the use of intellectual diaries, the methodical analysis of everyday problems, the cultivation of metacognition, and the habit of continually self-questioning. What can I do today to grow intellectually? While research on the relationship between AI and critical thinking is still in its early stages, some studies have shown that these tools can support critical thinking in certain situations. For instance, text mining tools can help researchers find gaps in the literature by organizing vast amounts of data, spotting patterns, or recommending connections between studies. According to this viewpoint, AI enhances critical analysis by making exploratory and investigative tasks easier. On the other hand, there is growing evidence that AI can also restrict the expression of critical thinking by inducing users to standardized solutions and predictable responses, limiting creativity, argumentative originality, and intellectual autonomy. Models such as ChatGPT are capable of producing cohesive and grammatically correct texts, but they do not dispense with the researcher's reflective and situated reasoning. But the effectiveness of these tools depends on the user critical and ethical mediation. Without this mediation, there is a risk of reinforcing biases, uncritical use of incorrect information, and erasure of the author's voice. In this sense, it's important the inclusion of training modules on ethics and artificial intelligence in academic curricula so that research in training develop criteria for the responsible use of these technologies. So what I'm proposing today as new, because I already said about the literature review and made some critics, but this work proposed to follow 6 evaluative dimensions that can be applied to articles, essays, and academic reports produced with the support of intelligent tools. These criteria aim to capture not only the formal quality of the text, but also the genuine presence of critical judgment and intellectual authorship. The first one is argumentative clarity. This dimension refers to the logical arrangement of the text, the connection between ideas, and conceptual precision. Texts that express critical thinking tend to have clear definitions, consistent argumentative progression, and rigorous distinction between concepts. On the other hand, AI mediated texts that lack criticality often feature generic sentences, conceptual ambiguity, and superficial threading of ideas. The second one is the quality of evidence. Critical use of sources and data is essential. Reflective texts mobilize relevant, up to date, and verifiable evidence while also confronting different points of view. The absence of critical thinking is this aspect is manifested in superficial references, unreliable sources, or merely decorative use of the bibliograph without articulation with the main argument. The third is reflexivity. It refers to the ability to question assumptions, recognize limitations, and analyze implications. Critical authors explain the limits of their arguments, ponder alternatives, and reflect on the consequences of their propositions. Automated texts, on the other hand, tend to adopt unilateral or uncritical positions, avoiding complexities and tensions. Argument originality. The presence of one's ideas, authorial positions, and authentic interpretative constructions is evaluated here. Critical thinking emerges when the authors risk defending their arguments even in the face of established knowledge. The absence of this dimension often indicates over-reliance on linguistic patterns and AI predefined formulations. The five is epistemic coherence. This dimension examines the consistency between the parts of the text. Problem, objectives, methodology, analysis, and conclusion, and their adherence to the disciplinary field. Critical texts demonstrate logical alignment between propositions and the evidence, while mechanized texts may present incoherence, generic conclusions, or be disconnected from the analysis. The last one, ethical use of AI. This is about transparency regarding the use of automated tools and critical discernment about the suggestions received. Authors who preserve intellectual authorship inform about the use of AI and critically review the generated content. The uncritical and undeclared use of these tools is indicative of a weakening of authorial integrity. This table I compiled the dimensions for critical thinking. I just talked about it in the last slide to facilitate the understanding. The first column are the criteria. The second is the indicators of critical thinking. The third is signs of automated production, absence of critical thinking. Let's move on. So now we talk about the gaps on the literature. This study found at least 4 gaps. The first one is the neglect of core critical thinking components. Most studies have little to say about how AI impacts the 3 pillars of critical thinking: hypothesis development, drawing of conclusions, construction of reasoned arguments. Instead of exploring this deep cognitive process, research tends to stay on the surface, looking at grammar, cohesion, or structure. But critical thinking is not just about form, it's about substance, logic, and creativity, areas where AI might interfere more. The second, lack of interdisciplinary integration. We need more than education theory to understand what's going on. Surprisingly, few studies bring together computational linguistics, cognitive science, and epistemology. Yet these are precisely the fields that could tell us how AI-generated suggestions interact with our brain decision-making process. I find it very interesting. Whether AI constrains or amplifies reflective judgment, how knowledge is framed or distorted by algorithmic outputs. Without this integration, we are missing the bigger picture. The third, ethical and structural blind spots. Then comes a growing ethical dilemma. Who is the real author of a text assisted by AI? What if the use of AI tools is implicitly hidden or not declared? Are we unknowingly reinforcing biases embedded in training data? Although some scholars have touched on these topics, there is still no systematized protocol for ethical, transparent AI use in academic writing. And the last one, no metrics for critical thinking in AI-mediated texts. Lastly, and perhaps most alarmingly, there is no method to assess critical thinking in texts shaped by AI. We have classic frameworks, but applying them to hybrid texts, where content may be machine-generated, is uncharted territory. Do these criteria still hold? How do we detect whether an idea is the writer's own or a well-packaged output from a language model? So the proposals for future research is investigate AI's impact on hypothesis formation and argumentative reasoning, include critical ethical AI literacy in academic training, create metrics to assess critical thinking in hybrid texts, develop ethical protocols for AI usage in academia, and educational and ethical implications. Promote development of critical conscious authors, use AI as a support tool, not a replacement, transparency in the use of automated tools. And the conclusion of the work. Today we examined the complex intersection between artificial intelligence and critical thinking in science writing, revealing a nuanced landscape. On the other hand, AI offers significant benefits for textual organization, linguistic revision, and suggesting argumentative constructions. On the other hand, its uncritical use can compromise fundamental dimensions of scientific reasoning, such as intellectual autonomy, creativity, and argumentative integrity. The analysis conducted suggests that AI should not be treated as a substitute of critical thinking, but as an operational ally subordinate to human judgment. The value of AI lies in its support for production, not in its ability to determine what should be written autonomously. Analytical reasoning, data interpretation, and argumentation must all remain under the researcher's control. It's crucial to implement moral and open practices such as explicitly stating the use of automated tools and requiring human review in order to optimize the advantages of AI without compromising intellectual depth. The development of assessment tools that consider critically in AI-mediated contexts and investigate the cognitive impacts of these tools on scientific training should be the focus of future research. By proposing specific criteria for assessing critical thinking in AI-mediated contexts, this article offers an original contribution to the current discussion about the ethical and reflective integration of these technologies into science. These parameters can support both teaching practice and academic evaluation in times of artificial intelligence. Thank you very much for listening to me, for watching this presentation. It was a pleasure to be here with all of you.